I of course I respect the role direction of doing b-boy events. I've done a lot of events by myself and with my crewmates. I've done a lot of like those kind of role things, but when it comes to making it as a business, it's not a good way. Yeah, it's not a smart way. So that you have to differentiate. You have to have different half of mind when you want to make it business. You know what I mean? So you can be only stuck with the rawness of culture. I still love the rawness of the breaking. I still love I still prefer cypher more than stage competitions, but yeah, you have to have switch your mode, you know what I mean? Yeah, when you do it, when you want to.
It's a tough thing that anytime you want to grow something into a business, and especially there's maybe certain things that are just, they're not always a good match for like business and making money off of it. But they maybe serve a really good purpose in another aspect of life. You know, like just making people feel good about what they're doing and this kind of stuff, releasing stress and all these other aspects. Yeah. Or sometimes, it's like public perception of something, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But
so like when you do marketing as a profession, you gotta have the eyes of super general people. You know what I mean? The average people. You gotta put your feet on the average people's shoes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I have two different eyes or minds besides me as a b-boy, but here super general Abechan I create always when I do marketing, because the most people like 95% of the audiences or consumers are just general people. Nothing, nothing about hip hop, nothing about culture. They just listen to Justin Bieber, whatever, you know what I mean? But when you do marketing as a profession, yeah, I gotta have those third eye Abechan besides me. And he helps me, he teaches me how it looks for general people, you know. So I always keep it in my mind when I do planning and stuff. For my clients. Even Rebel, like I've always told them like not to just I've done a lot of core stuff for them and with them back in the days, but like at the same time I've suggested that we should look at those kind of general people as a marketing, you know, and it looks kind of trade off kind of relationships like general people and like core, I would say, the community people inside the community, but you can make them and kind of trade on relationship.
But like balance the focus,
some way.
right?
Balancing,
because I
that's
think
the
about
idea,
this a lot. With recently, I mean, obviously there's stuff with dance and breaking and stuff, but I like fighting games a lot. And recently there's been this sort of trade-off that there's a core base of fans for this it's a sort of niche genre of games, and they're so hardcore and they will buy like every fighting game or whatever. But then the general audience, they feel like, oh, the barrier is too difficult to get into, and so a lot of people they might buy it and then they just never play it, and the game kind of dies with the general audience. and there's only like the
mm,
hardcore people left. And
mm,
so like
mm,
a lot of developers, they've tried to figure out, well, what are some ways that we can get people
mm.
more interested in this
Yeah, yeah,
genre.
yeah.
And so one of the
Mm,
things that they tried to do in more recent years is like make things easier to play, like,
mm. Or easier to watch, or funner to watch, or
yeah, or
yeah,
like,
general people
yeah,
doesn't always have to be a player, but
yeah,
they
yeah,
can be
yeah, yeah, yeah.
observer,
But
right?
as far as like,
And
so as far as like the way that the game plays, it made they tried to make it easier, or
mm,
like comeback mechanics
mm,
to make it easier to have
mm.
a exciting
Open.
moment and reduce the skill gap between people. But what that did was
Mm,
kind of really piss off a lot of the hardcore like fans that in a lot of ways they're the ones that create these magic moments that get the general public excited
mm,
about watching it,
mm,
or
mm,
about
mm.
wanting to get into this like community or
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And like if they
Involving,
don't want to play
yeah.
it, so it's like, how you got to kind of balance it. You can't make the game too easy, because then these hardcore fans will
Mm,
just leave it.
mm,
And
mm,
if there's no sense of like, say, progression or getting better,
mm,
or
mm, mm,
even things like, I worked hard to get good at this, there should be a skill gap between me and this person.
mm,
So it's kind of like they've recently tried to like trade off and cater a bit more to this like general
mm,
public. But it's, well, we'll see with in over time, like if it worked out or not. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see how they have to balance that. It's a really delicate
mm,
balance.
yeah, very delicate, very
Yeah,
delicate. Once you, yeah, once you fuck up with the tech balancing, uh, both of them will
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. And then you could lose both of
Yeah,
them,
and
right?
they disappear. Yeah, they
Yeah,
disappear. So like you have to be very careful balance
yeah, yeah,
between those two different types of people.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
really
but I've done a research about sport kind of market,
mm-hmm.
and I would say there is a kind of spectators and player ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, you like small, right?
Sumo.
Small.
Okay,
Yeah, you like
sure,
small,
sure.
right? Yeah, you love it. I love it. And you know there are seldom small players in even in Japan, right?
Mhm.
Like maybe I would say 100 players as a
Really?
professional small wrestler. Yeah, I think less than 1,000. I would say, including all of the like semi-pro level. But that's the number of small wrestlers. But the spectators in Japan, throughout TVs or whatever through media, who are at the venue, there are like maybe uh, tens of thousands times more than wrestlers.
Right, right, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, that's that ratio, and I've looked into the ratio in 10, 15 sports in Japan, and the sumo was the highest, has the highest ratio uh, between spectators and the players.
Mhm.
And yeah, baseball was high as well. Soccer was high as well. So the ratio correlates with the business scale as well, because as the more spectators through media you have, the more business,
Mhm.
the bigger the business grows. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So like,
yeah,
yeah, when you think about the business, you gotta have more, as many spectators as you
yeah,
can. Try to make people pleased
yeah.
by watching your sport or
So,
your content.
so that's one of the things that like I was thinking about recently. It's coming back to say breaking, and how do people make these
Mm,
things more profitable or whatever. And that was kind of one of
mm,
the
mm,
things that um like I remember reading this thing that Dizzy was talking about, of why things kind of died down in Korea, with like, because at one point Korea was like the
mm,
big place where they had all the corporate
mm,
sponsorships, and They had
Yeah.
tons of people coming to watch these huge events and stuff. But one of the issues was that, and when say people became fans of certain crews, but when their crews lost because of the judging system, like it was very vague, like
uncertainty, right? Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fans couldn't understand like why they lost, and they started to kind of like get disinterested in it, of like, well, why am I following them, like, and they lose and it doesn't make any sense and this kind of thing, like, and I can't even try and figure out why it happened because there's no
Why?
explanations or
Yeah.
anything.
What was the score? There's no scores.
Yeah.
You know
And
what I mean?
so like
Yeah.
I think
It's
those
hard to.
those kind of like, you know, making judging more, a little more transparent is a step in the right direction, but it's still so far off, I think. Because like then I started thinking about, well, okay, why is, like, say, basketball or hockey, these are really popular North American sports, or football, and there's so many people that will come to watch these things, and probably a huge amount of them don't play at all,
Yeah.
but they still
As I
kind of
told you, yeah.
casually follow these things, right? But I think part of that is just like there's a certain baseline knowledge that people have about sports because they learn them in schools and they get introduced into it in schools. But with, say, like North America especially, and maybe certain parts of Europe and in Asia too, like dance is not really a thing that they learn about in schools. Like maybe some schools, or it's like they'll do a little part on whatever, like,
Yeah, there are
dance.
dance classes in Japanese junior high and high school already,
Really?
but it's not but it's just teaching how to dance. But
But
like you
even
said,
from what
judge.
I saw, sorry, from what I saw, like, you know, teaching in junior highs, like Japan's approach to sports in schools is a little, I don't know, I can't say exactly, but it felt very, it's very obviously heavy on like choreography, and it's
That's
more
correct. Yeah,
like,
rather than expressing yourself,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's the hard part
yeah.
for people to understand, I think.
I
And
think so too.
so,
Yeah.
you know, with basketball or hockey or whatever, there's very clearly defined rules that if you do this, then you get a point. And it's very clear who's the winner because they have more points than the other team.
Yeah.
And if you
And
do
this
this,
is foul. This is foul,
yeah,
right?
exactly,
Yeah.
right? But in dance, it's more like, you know, especially with breaking, because it's a built on like this kind of competitive spirit of, you know, being better than other people. If you don't have clearly defined, like, I guess, rules of what is good and what is bad and what is better than what, then it's really hard for people to understand. And if they're not following the trends of what's going on in the scene, like, it's super hard, I think, to explain that to people. Or unless you outright at the beginning, like, tell them, you know, this is the judges' interpretations of the things, and these are kind of the vague general things that are important, so you as a spectator can look out for these things, but at the end of the day, like, it's these judges, I don't know, opinions. Like, that's hard for people to get behind, I think.
Even even for b-boys, sometimes it gets too controversial, you know.
Yeah, even
Result.
people in the community
Yeah,
can't agree.
even for b-boys, yeah, in the community category, and even for people that knows about everything in terms of moves, difficulties, everything, but it's still controversial. But that's the matter. That's the I think the problem that breaking scene has. Some people, I think, in my opinion, I think people should kind of have different mind from the role raw kind of form of breaking, which was ciphers or no judges, no time limits, no round limits and stuff. But there are some opportunities to make it more kind of I would say it I don't know if it's right word, but it's into sport kind of type of form. But when it comes to sport time type of form, the judging system must be super clear for general people to understand it. Just or even a 10 years old girl can understand who won or why.
Yeah, it's like
So like
even things like, say, when I was growing up, I saw things like the X Games and stuff. I don't know if that still exists anymore, but it was like, skating and
it exists,
BMX
I
and
guess, yeah.
whatever, and like that was an aspect of the like skating culture. That you still had people who were just like raw underground skaters who just go and do whatever they do
and
wherever they
wolf,
want.
yeah.
But then you had like guys like Tony Hawk, who maybe even came from that other side, but he became super famous for winning these competitions and stuff and whatever. And but yeah, those
And he's
competitions were,
respected from people from the street people as well, right? Which is beautiful, yeah. So
so he managed
we
to like
can
kind of
respect
bridge
each
the
other,
gap.
yeah, bridge the gap, yeah.
I think what you said, like people got to have sort of two mindsets, that this is the like sport or spectator kind of version of breaking, and then
Spectator
you
kind of,
have this
yeah,
like underground raw, still
yeah,
like true essence breaking, but they're both valid for different reasons.
Yeah, and we can enjoy both
Yeah,
types of our culture, what I mean? Like those two doesn't necessarily battle each other, right? The raw side can respect comp side, and comp side can respect raw side. Maybe Olympics day 2 have only raw side for unlimited time, just cipher whatever, you know what I mean? And day 1 just comes by scoring with numbers.
Yeah. So
to make it more clear.
Some events that I've been to that have a good approach to trying to balance like spectators and whatever, cater to the dancers and stuff, is like they have two separate parts. There's the prelims, which is either a separate day or earlier in the day, and it's like only the dancers and whatever. And like Rory would even do this when he was throwing jams. Like he would try and do this, like like he was doing it kind of the ghetto version, where it's like you still do that whatever 8-hour jam, but for the first three hours or 4 hours or whatever it is, like that's the part that's like purely for dancers and get the prelims done and over with and whatever. That's the boring part for spectators. And then you have the sort of later part where it's like, okay, tell all your friends and family to come to this. That's sort of the show competition part. But even then, I still think that there's issues with that, because people got to have a reason. Like, why am I watching this person? What connection do I have with them? I don't know who they are. People usually come because they want to see their friends or whatever, right? But if you make it this kind of thing that has like elements of a party or a festival or whatever, then people can just, it's like you said, they just want to come and hang out, and it's fun to just sit there and
go date for it.
Yeah, exactly, right? That's what I think.
Right?
Vancouver Street Dance Festival has. I don't know if you ever got to go to one.
Yeah. That's the festival type of thing and that's open for any people and general people.
I mean,
still enjoy watching it, right?
The advantage that they have is like, because they get funding from grants and stuff, I think, that they can make it free, so it's like out in the public and people can just come in and they don't have to pay anything to do it. But I also think they have a good setup with like making it this atmosphere that's like welcoming to people who are kind of outside the community.
Outside of
There's no
community,
gate, right? There's no like barrier that if you don't know about these things, like you can still come in and enjoy and like feel like you're a part of this thing. And I think that's always something that a lot of people forget is like they don't think about the general public. They just think they should come and support because breaking is great and I love breaking. So like just come and watch us dance. But it's like, why don't you make it an environment where they feel like they can sort of enjoy dance and they're learning something or whatever, like they're getting more knowledge or however you want to structure your jam.
Which is good. Which is good. That approach is definitely one of the promising approach of dance community, right?
Well,